Welcome to the Heart for God podcast. With many years of experience pastoring and helping to start churches, Dr. Jim Townsley has some practical and biblical advice that can be a great help to you and your ministry. On this podcast, Dr. Townsley and other guests with special expertise cover a variety of topics. His goal is to help you lead your church to be a healthy, strong, and balanced ministry, and for your family to be happy, healthy, and living for the Lord.
Hey, thank you for listening today and joining our podcast. Today I'm in Sabana Grande. This is Honduras, and we're having a great time. We started on Wednesday night and been having a leadership conference or a field conference or helping the staff and encouraging people. And I have with me the pastor's son, who's a assistant and a jack of all trades here, Joseph Hodges. Joseph, tell me a little bit about yourself. Now, you got Bible training, and you've come back now. You've grown up here on the field.
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, Pastor Townsley, for taking the time to speak with me today. And thank you for the blessing that you've been in your ministry to us this week. Yes, sir. I was born and raised here, born in 1998. Basically, I share almost the same birthday as our church. I was born a little bit, I think 1 month after the church was started. So the church and I.
That's cool.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
So I moved back here full-time in 2021 with my wife after we got married and finished Bible college.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And what are your responsibilities now? What do you do here?
Yes, sir. So just anything my dad tells me pretty much, but a little bit of everything. I'm one of his assistant pastors. He has 2 Honduran and 2 American assistant pastors on the staff. So I'm in charge of the youth group that we do on Saturdays, and I also drive a bus on Sundays and to a different village and pick up people. I also have the privilege of teaching 2 classes in our Bible college as well, where we're training young men and women for ministry. And I do the song leading at our church as well, and just a little bit of everything. It's a big ministry. We have a Christian school, a children's home, so just a little bit of everything.
So your dad came, is it like 28 years ago? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Something like that?
28 years ago.
Of course, we supported your dad and mom from the very beginning, and we've watched things progress, and it's really amazing work what has happened here. And I guess this Christian school is in English. They're Spanish people. They're Hondurans, but they come and they're learning English, and they're teachers are many from America, a few Hondurans, but it's all in English. And
yes, sir.
There's a Bible college, and there's 20 or so in the Bible college that get training. And the church, I guess, runs 400 to 450, 480. Or,
yes, sir. Yeah, about 480 right now. Yes, sir.
And for the most part, people come in on buses. Is that right? Maybe 80% of the...
Yes, sir. I would say out of the 480, 370 to 400 of them, yes, sir, are from the bus ministry, because most people don't have cars, and so they really rely on public transportation here.
So I haven't been to Honduras. I've been to Costa Rica, which is very similar, but I sort of expect it to be a little more advanced and westernized than what it is. It's still pretty close to a third world country, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's a little bit behind some of the other Central American countries, mainly just because of the leadership. Their government still tends to be more socialistic, which is kind of, set it back. And then just a lot of their policies have been more shut off towards other, business and trade with other countries compared to other countries in Central America.
So I don't know that there's like an interstate highway, a 4-lane divide highway in the whole country, is there?
4-lane, no, sir. The closest thing we have is the road basically from the airport that we came into here, which is 2-lane. And
that's the Pan American Highway?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, which our church is right off of that. It was funny. It was actually supposed to be a 4-lane, But over the years, so many people have built houses on the sides of the road. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people all along the highway. And it was just really bad publicity. No president wanted to be the bad guy and kick them off. So that's kind of, where as far as it got. Yeah.
So this highway, 2-lane road, it's every man for himself, it appears. That seems dangerous to me.
Yes, sir. I actually just got my Honduran license a few months ago because I was having some problems with them not wanting to accept my American license. And it was really funny when I went down to the traffic school and everything. The officer basically said, you need to remember that everyone shares the highway, pedestrians, animals, and vehicles. So it's not just for vehicles.
It seems like the biggest vehicle wins.
Yes, sir. That's true.
You give right away to whoever's biggest.
Very true.
So now and this is a beautiful country. Really, the climate is perfect, and it's not too hot where you have to have air conditioning. You have breeze that comes through, and
yes, sir.
Mountainous. It's really just a great place to live. It's much cheaper to live here.
Yes,
so
sir.
it's a great place if somebody's interested in coming down and working on staff, working in the school or something like that. But let's talk a little more about you. And you are 28, is that right? 27?
Yes, sir. 27. I'll be 28 a little bit later this year.
Okay. And you've been back with your dad now how long?
For this summer will be 5 years. July will be 5 years.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, here's a question. I want to get into this a little bit. You grew up here. You learned certain things. There's certain things that are established. Now you went away, and you've come back, and you have to sort of reevaluate and develop certain convictions about things and philosophy. Tell me a little bit about that. Are there certain things that you're struggling with, or things that you think other young men might be challenged by that might help them?
Well, that's a good question. I think, coming back, the biggest adjustment for me has been, adjusting to married life as a husband. And then, we have 2 young children under the age of 3. So adjusting to being a father, and I'm just trying to balance that with ministry and learn how to do ministry as a family. When you're a single guy, you can just run all over the place, come back whenever, do whatever, sleep wherever. But when you've got a family, you can still do ministry, and there's actually new doors of ministry opened. I've noticed that when I go soul winning or door-to-door evangelism with our kids, people tend to be a lot more friendly and open, as opposed to when you're just, a couple of single guys, people are a little suspicious. So there's certain doors open that are easier, but there's also, challenges, because like while you're out on evangelism, then all of a sudden you've got to stop and change a diaper, and so there's just different adjustments, I would say, with being married and having kids. But as far as convictions, I've was able to go back to the States. We visited 114 churches in a year, less than a year.
That's a lot. Wow.
Yes, sir, on deputation. And just seeing a lot of different dynamics really strengthened my conviction, one, and on how important it is to work in a team, and how, as you said in the conference, you want to have as many friends as you can. And, not that we compromise or change, but if you can have a strong team and work together, especially on the mission field, that really helps your church be healthy. And also another thing I've really learned is the importance of investing in young people and in training the next generation, even though it's scary. For instance, in our Bible college, we teach all our young people how to drive, because most of them have never been in a car before. And but just the other day, that one of the guys I was teaching wrecked my car, and so there's 2 ways to look at it. Like, well, this isn't worth it, it's too much. Or I can look at it as, well, this is an investment that's necessary, a little dangerous, but it's a necessary step to train the next generation. So
can they drive a straight shift to the clutch?
Well, that's the end goal. So I start them out in an automatic, and then all of our vans here are stick shift, and so we have to teach them in that as well. Yes, sir.
But if they go into another ministry, the fact that they could drive would be a great asset, I guess, here.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, I recall there were struggles I faced when I started out. Things like, what kind of music should I listen to? it seemed like every few years there was some new idea, some new thing. There were cell groups was a big thing for a while. Everybody, let's do cell groups. And I think at your age, probably there's a lot of stuff that comes at you. You hear stuff on other podcasts. Young guys have different ideas. It must be difficult to sort through some of that stuff.
It is, Pastor. It is because, sometimes we're tempted to want to just say, well, they're getting results. I mean, they've got a big church. They're getting people saved. But I think something you mentioned in the conference this week that was really encouraging is how every path leads to a destination, and how the well that you drink from, can affect as well. I think, as far as relating to your associations. And so, yes, there are other ways that people do ministry that may get results, but you also have to ask yourself, well, is the old way of doing things still working? And the reality is, yes, it is. And so kind of the idea of, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And so there's things that, I think we have to evaluate and just look at the Bible, biblical principles, and look at the history, history of Baptist churches in the States, because the Baptist church movement is still very young here. It's still, developing, but we have a long history of Baptist churches in the States, and just seeing those patterns, I think, can give us an advantage here on the mission field to make sure we don't fall into some of the same holes that churches have in the States.
Yeah, looking back 50 years, I can see the results of certain decisions people make, and boy, I've seen a lot of people come and go. And it always seemed like there's a church, it's like that church. Look at what they're doing. All looks exciting. Looks like a great idea, and then over time, it's gone. It's like the 10 fastest growing churches in America by Elmer Townsend. Many of those don't even exist anymore.
Right.
And so there's a flash in a pan, but sometimes you don't really know because you haven't seen it through. But now that I've seen a lot of this through, and a lot of older men ought to be helpful to young men to say, wait a minute, it looks like results, but you don't know the whole story.
Yes, sir.
And their church is built on transfers, excitement, and momentum and entertainment that in the end, that you haven't seen that all the way through.
Yes, sir.
And so I think that's great. You're sorting through all that and trying to figure all that out.
Yes, sir. Still have a lot to learn for sure, but I'm thankful for the testimony of many who have gone before, like you. You've walked this road before, and so, I'm confident that, in the multitude of counselors, there's safety. So.
Now, another thing that you did that was very good is you married a wife that can play the piano. That's
Yes,
a great
sir.
help
Yes,
on the
sir.
mission field.
Very helpful.
So you can sing and she can play the piano, and who knows if someday you take this over, you go start a church or
Yes, sir.
go to another country. I mean, but what you gain is going to help prepare the way for whichever step that is, I think.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And my wife loves music, and she actually teaches the girls in our Bible college as well how to play piano, because most Baptist churches in Honduras use soundtracks, but a lot of the soundtracks, will tend to have drums in them, or they'll update them and modernize them. And so just having a piano in live music in your church has so many benefits, and the electricity goes off here all the time. That's another reason why, soundtracks can be a problem. But so yes, I'm very thankful that she can invest in the music in our young ladies.
But the piano and guitars, particularly, you go out some places, no electricity.
Yes, sir.
Be able to play, and you can carry that with you.
Yes, sir.
Probably a trumpet, other music. But it seems like there's a great need for more music help among the churches in Honduras. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
Oh, absolutely. Very, very much so. Most churches do not have, live music or a piano player. And so that's a vision that my dad has, is to really, train all the ladies to play piano, the men play guitar, and, help their music program here.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
And he has some people, but probably he could use someone that was really well-trained that could come just to work with music, I would imagine.
Yes, we would love that.
Between the school, the college, and the church itself.
We really need that, yes,
and
sir.
you have some influence on other churches around that they could gain benefit from that as well, probably.
Yes, sir. Years ago, there was a Mexican pastor here that started a school of music, and it was
Really?
all trumpet, violin, cello, piano. But it only lasted a few years and it closed down. And I think he went back to Mexico. And there were a few people in that learned during those years. But I mean, this was probably over 10 years ago. But even still, those people, just that little time he was here did have a big impact on our churches. And, I wish so much that we could have something like that again more permanently.
Well, I think it would be a great blessing. So maybe somebody hears this and it might spark some interest for somebody to come down here. And it's a lot cheaper to live here than it is in the States.
Oh, it is.
The weather's great. There are a lot of positive things.
Yes, sir.
But, I appreciate what you're doing. And, you were pretty young the last time you visited our church. You've grown up, you're married, and serving the Lord, and you're the next generation.
Yes, sir.
So I appreciate what you're doing here. Well, thanks for listening today. God bless you. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, consider sharing it with a friend. You can also follow at Dr. Townsley on Twitter or on Facebook at Jim Townsley.